Today on Locked On Red Wings, will Carter Mazur make the team? Is Yzerman's seat starting to get hot? We answer your burning questions on today's Mailbag episode.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Scotty Bentley and Brian Fisher. I did you first today.
I was like, what? Something clicked in my brain. I was like, well, that's not how that's been done for 4 years, but sure.
Congrats on being the marquee today, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah. I'll just take over. Thanks for making us your first listen.
Well, and you know why I think that I led off with you is because I wanted our Mailbag episode today to begin with a question from myself, from yours truly.
Oh,
Scotty,
like, am I panicking? Is that what's happening?
No.
Okay, go ahead then. Please ask.
Maybe.
Ask. I'm dying to know then.
Scotty, what is your thoughts on the Tigers' inability to win baseball games? On a scale of 1 to 10, where is your
concern?
Maybe.
Let a panic. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to take all half an hour. I just did half an hour.
No, go right ahead. Go ahead, dude.
I literally just did half an hour and just got off air for Locked On Tigers talking about it. I think, honestly, like, they probably weren't as good as they were during like their peak stretch at the end of May, and I don't think they're as bad as like getting swept by the Pirates. So I think it's just a matter of trying to figure out where, in these last 60 games they're going to kind of slide in. I'm not like concerned that they're going to lose the division or anything. They still have such an astronomical lead. They're 17 games over 500 even with this stretch. But I mean, they need help for sure, and the deadline's next week, so we'll see what they do.
Yeah, I think for me, I align myself pretty similarly to where your thoughts are on that. And this is Locked On Red Wings. We will talk about the mailbags you guys sent in, but just real quick, let us talk shop real quick. They were unsustainably hot. You are 100% correct. But they've also won themselves into a position where they can slump, and they were going to slump. Eventually, they were going to, at some point, hit a stretch where they just weren't
Zach
playing good
McKinstry
baseball.
wasn't going to hold an 820 OPS.
Right. So, like, they've played themselves into a situation where now having a slump, which they were inevitably going to have, isn't going to cost you your season, hopefully, assuming they break out of it before it does.
And that's the thing. All we're waiting for now is to see them break out of it. And if they don't, then you're going to be the laughing stock of the league. And if you do, then it's just a bad stretch. So that's really the biggest focus, yeah.
I'm going to the game. So we're recording this on Wednesday, just so people are aware. It's this Friday's episode, but because I'm going to the game on Thursday, we weren't able to record on Thursday. So hopefully by the time people are hearing this, they've already won a game or two since then, because I'm hoping they win when I go in that 95-degree heat. But anyways, again, we're going to move on to the mailbag stuff. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money, by the way. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKDOWNNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. If you want to hear more Tiger stuff, go listen to Locked On Tigers. Scotty, the burning question. I got this a couple of times from different people when asking on different platforms about the mailbag. This comes from Corey Padfield on Twitter, as well as Kyle Dixon on YouTube, basically asking, do we think Carter Mazur is going to make the opening night roster? And I'll lead off with you. How are you feeling on the Carter Mazur opening night roster chances?
Yeah, so, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I think right now on July 25th, as people listen to this, I'll say yes. I think that is one that's rather fluid in the sense that, throughout the preseason, that is going to probably change a few times. We'll probably overreact to like the beginning of camp with however the reports are about how he looks. And then, when the preseason starts, we'll overreact the other way. And then, you know what I mean? It'll just be, peak training camp and preseason content. But, as it stands right now, before everybody's reported and that kind of stuff is started, I'll say yes. I think he probably carves out a role for himself in the bottom 6 or even the bottom 3, but I think that that's fine. And something that we've talked about a lot with Mazur is just that he's a unique prospect in regards to, like, we're really excited about him and we think that he brings a lot to the team, but the ceiling is really never going to be like perennial top 6 player. So you don't mind him making the team and getting fourth line minutes because he's probably a middle 6 player at absolute best anyway. And again, that's a conversation we've had a lot, and that's not like a negative thing to say. I love Carter Mazur, the player, friend of the program. We're big fans of Carter Mazur here, but I think that is honestly like a good thing for him because it just gives the team more incentive to bring him on opening night. So I'll say yes, but I'll also say that again, like once they start playing games, we'll probably have a stronger opinion in either direction.
Yeah, I think it could go either way. It really could. I don't think he's a lock to make the roster, but I think he's going to have every opportunity to make the roster. Puckpedia right now lists the Red Wings with 14 forwards. He is amongst those 14. You're likely going to carry 13 on opening night. And again, like the Marco Kasper situation, just because he doesn't make the team on opening night doesn't mean he won't make it a week later. I mean, injuries happen.
Doesn't mean he's not going to play 70 games for the Wings.
Right. I think he's going to be a Red Wing next season. I just don't know if he's going to play all 82 in a Red Wings uniform. But I mean, if I'm looking realistically at the roster, who's he got to beat out for a roster spot? It's probably just Austin Watson. And if I'm the Detroit Red Wings, I think I'd rather have Carter Mazur over Austin Watson on the roster. And the point you brought up that is so prevalent to the Carter Mazur conversation in particular over other prospects is that ceiling. Like, he projects to be a best case middle 6, more than likely bottom 6 winger, high motor, gets to the net. He's going to bring
though. Right? And like that's again, like I feel like people take that and they're like, oh my goodness, like, you don't like him as a prospect or whatever. No, he just like kind of is what he is. Like he is, that's the style he plays. Like
he's gonna thrive in that role.
In my opinion. His floor is NHL player. Like there are a lot of prospects we would gladly take that with. It's just maybe doesn't have the style of play. It's not anything about skill or anything. It's just the way he plays hockey is suits that role better. That's all.
I mean, obviously, health is a big part of it. He's been banged up for much of his professional career so far. He's got to stay healthy. But, like, healthy Carter Mazur is going to be a huge addition to this bottom 6. And, you know, it's less of a conversation about – I do really think he can beat out Austin Watson for a roster spot. I really do.
Well, injury's a thing too, right? Not just for him, but for, like we're talking about this at full health. What are the odds that nobody gets hurt from – not one forward gets hurt from now until opening night?
Right. For me, he is going to be a player that you, like you said, have no problem slotting in on the third or fourth line. So he has because of that, he honestly has a higher chance of making the team than a Nate Danielson or MBN, who he's going to be competing with. For sure. He will be competing with MBN and Nate Danielson and ASB, even though he's a defender, all for these roster spots because they're hard to come by. But because of the fact that he actually slots in lower in the lineup, it's almost, I see it as an easier path to make the team than because they're not going to have Nate Danielson make the team unless they think he can play a prominent role right from the get-go. They're
not going to give Nate Danielson 8 minutes a night. They will give Carter Mazur 8 minutes a night and not feel too bad about it. Yeah.
Yep. Scotty, let's head to a quick break. When we return, we'll break down some of the other burning questions that the listeners had. Stay tuned to Locked On Red Wings. Ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having a personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. Segment 2, Locked On Red Wings podcast. Scotty, another question I saw a lot about was about Steve Yzerman. Let me see if I can't give credit to a specific person real quick here. Basically asking Scotty if we feel that another lackluster, that it's from Muskrat Whiskers on YouTube. Do we feel that another another iffy season for the Detroit Red Wings will put Steve Yzerman on the hot seat. Where do you lean on the Yzerman hot seat equation?
Man, honestly, I think it would take a pretty egregious year for him to be. And this is not like my opinion of what I would do or anything. I'm just saying from someone who has talked about and or covered Illich teams for quite a while now. Like I really think it would take the Wings being like so bad that it reaches Illich, and it's like if they're near a postseason team again, I really don't think Chris is going to be like, man, this is Yzerman is not cut out for it, or isn't the one that's going to be able to get the job done, etc. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's a specific timeline that Illich wanted to see them make the playoffs by year X of like the Yzerman thing, but how long was that if it's not already passed? I don't know. I really feel like it would have to be a pretty bad year, and a lot of people would have to be in Illich's ear being like, hey, you should maybe like remember you own this hockey team and this is how we think like it's going, kind of thing. I just don't get the impression that Illich is like chomping at the bit to fire Steve Yzerman.
Well, and I want to correct myself. That question actually came from Chase M on YouTube. I agree. It really depends on who you're asking. Are you asking us or are you asking Chris Illich? Because if you're asking Chris Illich, the answer is probably no, because Chris Yzerman has full faith of Steve Yzerman. And I mean, I get the vision. I see the vision, right? There's a really chock full. This pipeline is full of talent. And so long-term outlook, it looks like you're going to have a lot of young players under good contracts for years to come that'll at least make you a playoff team. But there is a severe lack of top-end talent in the pipeline as well. Like your highest level players are Lucas Raymond, who, had a great year last year, probably could have broken 90 points if he didn't have that slump. And the alleged injury, we never got official reports on that, but out of Four Nations, and Moritz Seider, who's a great 1A, but you're still lacking that one defenseman on the back end who can put up a ton of points. So, who hopefully you have an ASP. So it really just depends on who you're asking. If you're asking Chris Illich, no, I don't think he'll be on the hot seat. If you ask me, yeah, I think the seat should be a little warm by the end of this offseason if this is the roster that we're walking into opening night. And like I go back and forth with myself because, again, as I just stated, I see the long-term outlook. I get the plan. There's a lot of good to be had with the youth that has been drafted, but the free agent contracts, like, you got to start hitting in free agency. And I know it's a little bit of a catch-22. You can't hit in free agency until you're good, and you can't get good necessarily until you start really hitting in free agency. And obviously, that's not necessarily 100% true because you have those draft prospects again, but players don't want to come here unless you're a destination. You can't be a destination until players start coming here. It's just it's a little bit of catch-22. So you got to have a surprise year. You got to have that breakout year. Yeah. And then people will start coming. So, I mean, it's been. I'm not going to be in camp fire Steve Yzerman, at the start of the season, but I'm definitely going to be heavily scrutinizing a lot more. And this is coming from the same guy who thinks that, despite the fact that I want the Red Wings to have made a swing and expected a swing going into free agency, I don't fault Yzerman for not getting any of the players who didn't make it to free agency because they didn't make it. So it's just. It's the constant, the balancing act of trying to set realistic expectations for your general manager, but also understanding what hills, aren't worth dying on.
For sure. Well, I think ultimately, like, I think that if I were somehow in a position where that decision was on me, like, I would think that this year would be like a hot seat year. Like, I really think that the Wings, you need to see some noticeable improvement. And on top of that, you look at what the offseason brought you, it's a whole lot of nothing so far. So
yeah,
I don't think it's a very easy sell from, to defend Yzerman going through this season if they don't, take a step forward and make the postseason or whatnot. So I think it should be. I just don't think it is. I also want to say, like, I said almost those exact same words about Avila about 3 months before he was fired. So, like, what do I know? I've
Yeah.
wrong plenty and will be wrong again. I'm an idiot, but like that is kind of the impression I get of this ownership group and Yzerman. Like that is, he just has such a great relationship with the family, and the team isn't in like a catastrophic free for all where it's on Illich's radar. Is like, oh my goodness, this is a train wreck. Like, no, they're getting 80 to 90 points every year and are playing competitive hockey and are in the fight and they're making money. Like I just don't think it's an urgency thing for Chris Illich like it is for the fan base. That's all.
Yeah, like I still believe that this team needs to make some kind of move to really accelerate this and push this to the next step, because I don't know if that move is going to come internally. I think that the foundation for a really solid team is here and still on the way as well, but they're still just, I feel like they're missing that player. And that's where I'm like, Yzerman, you have to do something. But it's so easy to say you have to do something, but when you look out and see who's available, or I guess who's not available, like who is there to get? So it's just, I wrap it up here. It's just, I'm glad I'm not the one making the decision. I feel the seat should be warm, but I don't think his seat will be hot, because you have to again look at it from the perspective of who's making the decision on this. It's not us. Scotty, this is another one I thought was a nice little brain teaser. Basically, how would you feel, and this comes from One-Handed Wonder on Twitter, how would you feel about a top six like this? Cat, Larkin, Kane is your top line. Berggren, Kasper, Raymond on the second line. The question continues. My thoughts is Kasper and Berggren played really well together in the AHL, which they did. I would also love an extended look at the three Americans on one line. That could be magic 5-on-5 scoring. What are your first impressions on Cat, Larkin, Kane, and Berggren, Kasper, Raymond as a top six?
Honestly, I really credit the creativity. I think that Cat showed kind of what he can do. He's played with Larkin at times, but kind of found a home with Kane, and you weren't willing to put it in there. I think the only glaring issue I have with it is not even necessarily Berggren being thrown up there. I think it's more so the defense of the top line. We talk a lot about 5-on-5 production and that fact that this team is not very good at it and has not been very good at it. I think there's something to be said for, hey, the 5-on-5 offense might look way better with that top line. The defense would be questionable, would be putting it nicely. I think, you're really just looking at Larkin. Cat improved in that area, but that doesn't make him good, and Kane is a complete black hole. So I think that would be more of my hesitation, but I mean, again, I credit the creativity because I can kind of see the logic or follow the logic for all of the I understand all the points that they made.
Yeah, so it's interesting because Larkin, Kane, and DeBrincat scored a lot of goals together when they did play together. And it's irrefutable fact. You can look at the statistics. They scored a lot of goals. They scored 44 goals together in 176 minutes on the ice with one another. Only second to the standard top, or the Larkin, Raymond, DeBrincat line, which had 51 goals together. And they had a solid expected goals for percentage. Slightly less, of course, than Raymond, Larkin, DeBrincat did. But still feasible. My hesitation is the same as your hesitation, though, is Kane doesn't have the foot speed nor the inclination to try and play a defensive game. And if you put Kane on the top line and you put Berggren on the second line, you can't really trust either of those lines fully in the defensive zone. So
sure.
I really love the question. It's a good thinker, and we know that top line they proposed can score together. We have evidence of that.
Both
but
probably
you need,
can. You kind of you're cooking offensively. It's just that the defensive side of the puck does matter unless you want to be the glass cannon team. But you're Kane, DeBrincat, and Sherratt all on the ice at the same time. No, thank you.
Right. And
as your top line, I should say. Obviously, that's probably going to be the case with if they're on the second line as well. But I think those guys all on the ice at the same time for half an hour probably isn't great.
let's not brush past either Berggren on the second line, which if I'm being flat out honest, I know they had a lot of good chemistry in the AHL, but the AHL is a much easier league than the NHL.
For sure.
And Berggren has had every opportunity to establish himself as an everyday player in this lineup, and he has not. So while the chemistry, I like the idea of putting them back together for their chemistry, I don't think Berggren has the necessary speed, size, physicality, or creativity to play a top six role in the NHL. That's not meant to be disrespectful for Jonathan Berggren. I actually like Berggren a ton. He's, on top of being a fantastic personality, he is, I think, going to be relegated to a bottom six sniper who gets power play minutes. Like, that's going to be his role, offensive zone deployments. You need one of those two top six lines to be able to play defensive zone deployments, which is why I think that Larkin, Raymond, and insert forward here is going to be your best bet for that. So you free up Kane and DeBrincat to play the more offensive zone heavy minutes with Kasper, who can cover for them a little bit more. So I like the creativity. I like the idea. It's nice to think about, but I don't think Kane has the necessary foot speed to play on line one anymore. I don't think that Berggren has the necessarily NHL skills to necessarily play in the top six. And those are the two things that I get hung up on the most. I think Patrick Kane is comfortable where he is, getting offensive zone deployments on line two. I think that you're just going to have to figure out who your fill-in is. I know it's really disappointing because I want Berggren to succeed, but at this point, we've seen enough of him that I'm pretty confident that we know what he is, and I don't think that is a top six forward. I think he's a bottom six power play specialist for the forward group.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
We're going to take a quick break. When we return, we will answer more of your questions. Easy transition. Segment 3 coming up. Segment 3, Locked On Red Wings podcast. Nice sip, by the way. Totally audible.
Like, dang it, it's empty. Like, darn.
Next up, Scotty. Question from Twitter asked if we think that this comes from Alex Jenkins. Do you think the Red Wings are going to make any more trades, or is this the roster that we're stuck with? We actually got a couple variations of that.
Yeah.
But yes, I'm starting to feel like this is it.
Every day that goes by, brother, every single day that passes, that likelihood of this just being it kind of grows more and more, don't it?
Yeah, and like Max Boltman has written a couple great pieces. He was great again on the roster projection episode with the Winged Wheel as well. He talked about it. It's like you can give. This was not a bad offseason for Steve Yzerman. It was a bad offseason from the standpoint he didn't get anyone big, but there was nobody big to get. Something we've talked about on end, but he avoided giving out massively, out of desperation, giving bad contracts to middling players. Mistakes he's honestly probably made in the past. A lot of that's hindsight, but he got a couple of decent pieces on short-term deals that it will make the team marginally better, but it still is, we're missing that big piece, and I don't know where that big piece is going to come from. Maybe Marco Rossi, you roll the dice on him that he's for real and the size isn't an issue. Maybe you pull Jason Robertson from Dallas, but you have to imagine you're one of a lot of teams that are interested in those two players because the trade market is so thin. That or you go out and get some slightly older players out of Pittsburgh. There are options out there, but it's just really hard to see where it's going to come from right now, especially because a lot of these teams aren't pressed in the offseason with the cap going up to make these deals. A lot of these trades, if they're going to be made, are closer to deadline deals. That's when these type of guys tend to get moved. So I think you're looking at if you're going to see surprises on this roster, it's not going to come externally. It's going to come from young guys making the leap.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what the organization is more or less banking on. Which is not impossible, and we'll obviously talk about that a lot throughout camp and the preseason and the lead up to the start of the year. But yeah, man, I really don't think. I don't know. Maybe it's like calm before the storm, but I really don't see them adding too terribly much at this point, which is disappointing. We were very vocal about how they needed to add somebody, but it is what it is. This looks more and more every day like this is the roster that they're going to throw out there on opening night. So.
Yeah, another person who asked this question was Ben Kaufman over on Twitter as well, so shout him out for the question. A lot of people asking about MBN, ASP, and Nate Danielson. Same variation of do you think they're going to make the team, or who do you think has a better chance? Just
who are the
rapid
three?
fire.
MBN, ASP, and Danielson.
Yeah, give me your rapid fire thoughts on those guys.
I would say I'm pretty again on July 25th. So like that, we'll see how camp in the preseason goes. I would say no on ASP or MBN, and then I would say like maybe on Danielson, but I would lean no to all three.
Yeah, if I were to rank the likelihood of them making the team,
Danielson pretty easily at the top, I feel.
One,
yeah.
ASP2, MBN3.
Sure.
Although I could see a reality where that's flipped, where MBN is second and ASP is third. It really depends. It depends on what you're focusing on. ASP's offensive game or his defensive game. His offensive game is pretty close to being ready at the NHL level already, but his defensive game is where there's massive holes. And, he can make strides in the offseason, but I find it really hard after seeing, again, albeit a short 5-game stint in the AHL. I find it hard for him to make the team unless he makes significant strides, or those 5-game stint was just, a bad group of games rather than hit the reality of who he is. MBN, he didn't score. He did a lot of things really well in the SHL, but didn't score a lot over there. He scored a couple of goals with the Grand Rapids Griffins in the playoffs, which was awesome. I think his style of game can translate easier to the North American ice, but I still just don't think he's going to be ready. I mean, again, he could surprise you. You have an entire offseason to get stronger and improve your game. But Nate Danielson is clear in a way like the closest player, right? He had 30-plus points with the Grand Rapids Griffins this last year. This team's desperate for a top 6 player, so if coming out of camp they don't have a solution at top 6 and they think he's NHL ready, you might see him as your top line left winger. Like there is a distinct possibility that is your best option, is that internal surprise, which would be most welcome. I'd love to see Nate Danielson. We talked.
We
hear
be
all
welcome
season
if he's actually ready. Yeah.
Right. And we heard from Andrew Rinaldi all last season. We heard from Max Boltman all last season. He's somebody who does everything right on the ice, but he just doesn't find the back of the net as frequently as you would hope, which is honestly, I think, a lot of what people said about him when he was drafted. Like, he does everything with and without the puck exactly how you would want out of an NHL player. Great two-way game, hustles up and down the ice, puts himself and his teammates in great position to score, but he just wasn't. And again, he had the same rate of production as Casper did in Casper's final year in the AHL. But I think people are expecting more for his draft slot. So, I mean, he's probably the closest. And I think you could see him in the NHL at some point next year, even if it isn't necessarily on the opening night roster.
Yeah. I am fairly confident, assuming his own health, that at some point in that 82-game season that he plays a game with the Detroit Red Wings.
Yeah, and this is a fun one. Let's finish on a really fun one here. This one comes from Yams Thikowski on YouTube. I love reading YouTube handles. They're fantastic. Guys, who is y'all's favorite, not best, prospect in the Red Wings system right now, but not in the NHL just yet? He says for him, it's got to be ASP. Argument to be said that he might be the best prospect, but if he's also your favorite, then more power to you. He's such an entertaining player to watch, and he just loves a D-man who can absolutely rip one. Scotty, who's your favorite, not best, prospect in the Red Wings system right now?
I feel like we might have the same answer.
Maybe.
I think we might.
Well, say yours first.
Amadeas Lombardi.
Yeah. I have a backup though.
Okay. Please.
And I hope he still counts. Carter Mazur, who we led the episode off with.
Sure. I think that's good.
He played one NHL game and he only played a minute and a half.
Games, yeah.
He played one game and got injured in his first shift, so I think it counts.
Yeah, no, I think Mazur just really feels like kind of the epitome of a fan favorite. Like, just you know what I mean? Those types of players, those those role of players tend to be really popular just in the city of Detroit teams in general, right? And I feel like he's going to kind of fill that role really nicely. I feel like he'll be a big-time fan favorite. And then, yeah, Lombardi, it's genuinely just like, I don't know, if he's going to end up being like some perennial top-line caliber player, but like, it's a dude that is just lightning in a bottle. Like, is just such a fast skater and is so exciting to watch, and has continued to develop at a really fast pace that I think for us, it's just one of those things where I'm not sure there's a single prospect in the organization I have more fun watching than Amadeas Lombardi. So
Right.
That's pretty easily my pick.
Amadeus, I mirror everything you said about Mazur, but with Amadeus Lombardi, remember he was fifth on the team in points with 40 points.
Time.
Yeah, that 40 points is 7 points back of Joe Snively, who led the Grand Rapids Griffins in points in 30 fewer games, 28 technically fewer games.
Wild.
So he was 40 points in 44 games. Like the offense is honestly NHL caliber. The question with Amadeus Lombardi, especially given his size, is can he put the effort in to play good defense? If he can learn how to play just a competent enough defensive game, he's going to be an NHL level player. Now, how high of a ceiling that is, I don't know. But, like you said, he's fast. He has great hands. He can shoot the puck. Like, this is a guy whose offense is real. It's just with his size, can he be strong enough? Can he be defense? Like, with his speed, there's no reason why he can't be at least a superb back checker. But can he win those puck battles, So Amadeus Lombardi is somebody like we've been high on him since he came out of Flint. We used to joke that like every single time we talked about him,
that's when the excitement started. Is when he had like 900 points in 10 games for Flint. And we were like, oh my gosh.
And like obviously we knew that you don't be fooled too much by junior statistics.
Yeah,
but it was fun.
Like it was definitely jumped off the page, man. He dominated.
I mean, this is a guy who was taken in the fourth round of the Red Wings draft that year, and he had 102 points in 67 games, 45 goals and 57 assists with the Flint Firebirds. Like, I think every time we talked about him, we joked that his ceiling for goals scored got higher, and I think by the time this next season started, it was like at 95 goals. So, of course, it was all a jest, but I mean, if he hadn't missed time, you're looking at a guy who may have scored 30-plus goals in the AHL last season. Like, that's crazy. Scotty, any final thoughts?
We ball, baby. I appreciate everybody. I remember first starting Mailbags, and we used to go, hey, we have 2 days to answer, and we'd be like, oh, I'm not sure we're gonna have enough questions to fill. And now, with 5 hours and no mention of it on the previous episode, we can throw it out there and get plenty, too many to cover a whole show. It's really awesome. So.
Yeah, I really appreciate everyone who answered or asked some questions. I apologize for all the questions we didn't get to because you guys gave us a ton across
long off
multiple
season
platforms.
Okay.
Yeah, this probably won't be the last one we do.
Right.
But we'll be back on Monday, same time, same place. It's your team every day.